Mika and I, everybody we talk to, every political discussion, it talks a lot about Trump, but when it comes to Joe Biden, people say, man, he's too old to run, isn't he? I mean, he's not really going to run. When I say every discussion, I don't mean 99% of the discussion, every discussion.
Every discussion. That's Mo Yarborough, of course. I wanted to start the day off with that, even though we shared that with you yesterday. Every Democrat is a lion Sacagawea. That's the bottom line there. Not the one on the coins either. Not Mo Yarborough with his semi-inflatable flotation device of a third wife. Mika. And there's more along those lines that I wish to share with you today. So many wackadoodle things because, Democrats. Way too many. Crazy, wacky people. Well, happy Thursday to you and welcome. A great many Democrats. You see Nancy Pelosi yesterday? Nancy Pelosi, people are going to start calling for her to step down, too, after this interview. Joe Biden's Hanoi press conference was the "It's Time to Go" press conference. And a bunch of the lefties, like I shared with you yesterday, David Ignatius, a shill and a stooge for the Democrat Party and the intelligence community, he wrote a little piece that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris should not run for re-election next year in 2024. Now, Mo Yarborough was revealing that all the and he only talks to Democrats, and he said every stinking one of them, and they are stinking, every stinking one of them says when they're not on television, says, oh yeah, Joe Biden is definitely too old and he can't run again. He can't even run now without tripping over a sandbag or something. And that's what they say when they're, but then when they're on camera, they lie because they're liars. And that's what they do very naturally. It's their thing. It is their bag, baby.
We often will complain about Republicans who will say one thing about Donald Trump off the air and another on air. Well, let me just say, Democrats off the air will say Joe Biden's too old. Why is he running? On the air, they won't say that. So I commend David for at least raising the question.
David Ignatius, because, the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, what's the difference, really? It's all one thing, same effort, different buildings. That's about it. If you go to work at MSNBC and leave CNN, the big difference is your parking space. That's the most important thing. Otherwise, it's the same job. So great many things to cover. We are, of course, at 888-630-9625. And last night I was invited to, and I attended a Fairfax County Republican Party event, which I want to share some information with you about that. It was a great event. And I received a beautiful award, a beautiful and wonderful award, for which I'm very grateful. And it's not some lucite block. No, it's much, much more than that. And it will find a place of prominence in my home, in my humble home. And I want to share with you some of that last night. Some interesting. There were. Well, it's Washington. You had law enforcement and federal law enforcement and intelligence agency people and all kinds of interesting military people. Had a F-14 pilot, Top Gun guy. So I want to get into that a little bit later on, but it was a great event and a lot of fun. And it was up a little past my bedtime last night because it was a long day. But that's great. It was a great thing. And let's get back to Joe Biden and how everybody wants him to go. And you notice that a couple of months ago, I said Joe Biden will not be the candidate next year, and he really can't be the guy. And then Hanoi, I said it's time for him to step down. He's really got to go. I'm going like this with my right hand, the thumb, like you got to go. He's got to go. And it is time. And David Ignatius, dutiful Democrat stenographer from the DNC steno pool, and he said Kamala Harris. Kamala, you remember her? She's the czar of the border, and it should be Tsarina. It's sexist to call her a czar, I think, but never mind that. At least it's Russian, and they like that because, they're commies, basically, is the thing there. But let me get into some of what we have today. You saw that the White House yesterday, the White House put out a statement to a memo, really, to the news media, telling them that they need to attack Republicans, that it's time for them to attack Republicans because Republicans have opened an impeachment inquiry. And no sooner did the White House put out that memo than the news media started attacking Republicans because, the Democrat Party and the media represent a merger of state and corporate power. That's what we have in the United States of America, is a merger of state and corporate power. And the page 2 Washington Post story, the entire top of the page, a picture of Kevin McCarthy and others walking the Speaker of the House. And the headline is, McCarthy, unable to govern, throws impeachment chum into Capitol waters. And, this is directly attributable to the statement, the memo, the instructions put out by the White House yesterday, because the White House told their media allies, and there are many, their legion, to start attacking the Republicans and to close ranks around Joe Biden and the Democrat White House to protect them from any investigation, and told them to go around and say that there's no evidence. They essentially told them that in the White House memo, the talking points that were issued to the media. And the media are dutifully following their orders. The orders! They are following the orders! And so the attacks have begun on Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans. It's kind of an ongoing thing, too. But now they're specifically focused on the impeachment inquiry, the news media is, because the merger of state and corporate power is complete, certainly in Washington. And it's time to attack, the whole thing. In fact, the lead story in the Washington Post on the front page above the fold upper right-hand corner today, shape of GOP inquiry unclear. That's the big headline. Subheadline is, lawmakers offer only vague details. Only vague details. Some say impeachment probe grants few powers. Granted a lot more powers when it was under Pelosi and the Democrats. I read that in the Washington Post. It's the Washington Post is filthy corrupt. It's just they're up to their eyeballs in the swill of the swamp, and they're corrupt and they're dishonest. The individuals and collectively as well. You know how they are collectively. So and it is quite an amazing moment. The news media should have been outraged when the White House put this memo out yesterday, but of course they weren't. They clicked their heels, not like Dorothy, in The Wizard of Oz, but not 3 times. They clicked their heels like, Colonel Klink, I think, wearing an old World War I spiked helmet from the Kaiser's days. So media's covert protection of scandal-plagued Biden comes to light while still protecting President and Hunter Biden. That's that line in the New York Post, and they've got their finger on the pulse. They actually do. And it's Miranda Devine, the wonderful reporter at the New York Post, Miranda Devine, who broke all the giant stories that were then covered up by the FBI and lied about by the CIA, because these are corrupt institutions. And that's a terrible thing at the highest levels. Doesn't mean every individual there is corrupt. It just means that all the bosses there are corrupt, which is all you need. And there ought to be a lot of handcuffs being applied in Washington, D.C. But the media's covert protection of scandal-plagued Biden's comes to light, and yet they still push President and Hunter Biden's innocence. Oh, there's no evidence. There's no evidence. And the White House putting the statement out. I'll get into the statement in a little bit, but it's time for the media to do more to scrutinize House Republicans, see? And their demonstrably false claims that they're basing impeachment stunt on. This is the White House. And so it's time for the media to step up and click. They click their Gestapo-like boots together. And sure enough, they got to work immediately attacking the Republicans and defending Joe Biden, because that's our media, the most corrupt institution in the United States of America. Way beyond the FBI, the Justice Department, even under Joe Biden and Merrick Garland. Haven't seen hide nor hair of him recently, have we? Where is he? Did he go into the witness protection program? Maybe he moved to Moscow or something. Where did he go? More Russian collusion, I think. There was a moment at the briefing yesterday, one reporter and only one reporter from the Washington Times, your newspaper of record in Washington, D.C., not the Washington Post, which, is birdcage liner, but a reporter calls out Biden's frequent misstatements at White House briefing. Again, it's the New York Post covering the story and not the Washington Post or the New York Times, because they're in the front pocket and the back pocket of the Democrat Party, jangling around like so many nickels and dimes. That was a Vito Corleone reference. And Hunter Biden sues ex-Trump White House aide over infamous laptop. Got some kind of chutzpah. We'll get into that. And the Washington Post has a ridiculous piece by this clown, this disgraced Philip Bump. I don't know if you got the Philip Bump video from a couple of weeks ago now, I guess, where he's supposed to be the Washington Post expert on all things Biden scandal, but they won't call it a scandal, which means he's an expert in being a fluffer and not a journalist. And Philip Bump wrote up a piece where he talks about having a Venn diagram of the people that say that the 2020 election was not legitimate and the people that say that there is criminal activity to be seen in the Biden family. And he's trying to paint it as a bunch of wild-eyed conspiracy theorists or something like that. Then Philip Bump joined a group of Democrats to loot the local Walmart and overturn a burning police car. But never mind that. I just made the last part up. But might as well, because he's a radical, they're extremists, and I'm telling you. And also, Newsbusters, our great friends at Newsbusters, CNN backs Team Biden's letter telling media to get tougher on GOP. And so wait till you see what CNN had to, they wanted to jump in with both feet with their Speedos on and get into the gelatin-filled hot tub with the Democrats and, their hands all under the water and everything like that. We've got amazing stuff. Congressman Matt Gaetz claims that Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, has no real intent to follow through on the impeachment of Joe Biden. And, good for Matt Gaetz speaking up. I'm glad that he does. Kevin McCarthy is, warm and cool and warm and cool on him. But, how many years does this stuff take, honestly? How many mountains of evidence do you have to have? Ain't no mountain of evidence high enough. And then Kevin McCarthy attacked Matt Gaetz in return, saying that he's working with Eric Swalwell, of Fang famed, the Chinese communists dating Democrat House Intelligence Committee representative who may be, a Chinese spy himself, because he's, Fang having sex with Fang. And Fang helped him go from the city council, small city council in California, to the House Intelligence Committee in Washington. Very, very successful Chinese operative, honeypot operative. So that's pretty amazing. Also, the Mittster, Mittens Romney, he's announcing that he's not going to run for re-election. So his time is limited in the United States Senate. And now that he feels liberated, he came out and said that he thinks that Donald Trump should step down and not run again, step aside and not run again, and that Joe Biden should step aside and not run again, because it's time for a new generation, says Mittens Romney. Then he walked away eating a hot dog, which was kind of strange, but it's his favorite meat, if you know what I mean. And Mitt Romney urges Biden and Trump to stand aside for 2024. Also got a lot of other stuff for you on the Susanna Gibson, the porn star. Italy had a porn star years ago that became a politician, became a big politician. I think the Democrats are is Susanna Gibson on The View today? Because she's going to be on soon. I know. Also, crazy story. 14-foot alligator attacked and chased down a Girl Scout troop that was swimming in a lake. And here comes a 14-foot alligator. This is a crazy story. Want to share with, and there's a scout leader, the scout leader lady. She's got a story to tell. I'm telling you. And there's more, and there's more. The The new Oliver Anthony is his name, rich men north of Richmond. Got an interesting saga about him. Bill Maher is a scab. Gen Z women. That's kind of an interesting one, isn't it? And we are at 888-630-9625. Hey, it's Chris Plant. Excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. We've got crazy left-wing, radical, extremist media for you, and, mainstream extremist, radical Democrats, elected people. Nancy Pelosi, she's all over the place. We'll get, she was on Morning Joke again this morning to come on and lie more about things, and they helped her because that's their role. It's a TV show where Democrats go to lie. That's the whole point. All right, let's go to the telephones at 888-630-9625. Let's go to Tim calling from Leesburg, Virginia. Tim, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey, Tim.
Just wanted to point out two quick things about the clip you played from Morning Joke.
Yeah.
First, Joe says no Democrats will say this in public, but he's proud of David Ignatius for doing it, all but admitting he's a Democrat.
Oh, that's a good spot. That's fun. Yeah, we all assume that, of course, but you're right. They're not supposed to say it out loud, right?
Yeah. And the second thing, dealing with Ignatius, do you think given his connections to intelligence agencies, he's putting this out there now because he knows something's coming?
He's clearly doing downfield blocking for Biden and the Democrat Party, right?
Yeah. But, I mean, I think maybe he knows, given his sources, that something's coming. There's all the speculation that tapes between Biden and Ukrainians could potentially be coming out. I'm just saying. He has tons of connections in the intelligence agencies.
That's right.
Maybe that's what he's doing.
Well, that makes perfect sense. That absolutely makes perfect sense, Tim. And it's, you're an astute observer and an intelligent consumer of the news, and based on the information that we have available to us, and also, Tim, it looks like they're pushing Biden toward the exit, right? I mean, that's what we're watching right now is the media, which is an arm of the Democrat Party. And it's really all media, and then leaks through the media about what the Democrats are saying when they're not on camera. It's pretty clear, and I've got to say that I was predicting this months ago now. That's right, the best bumper music in the radio universe. No doubt about it. Thanks to the great Mike McKay, longtime great DJ, great American. We have got Nancy Pelosi. She was on with her friends, her pals, her fluffers at Morning Joke again today to spin and to misrepresent. And the bootlicks at DNC were, of course, eager to help and to play along because that's their role. Now, Nancy Pelosi, she was on MSNBC yesterday with Andrea Mitchell, or on Andrea Mitchell's show. She was Pooper. Oh, she was on with Manderson Pooper. I'm sorry, Manderson Pooper yesterday, and today MSNBC. It's all the same thing, really. It's they got their Speedos on, they jump in the Jell-O-filled hot tub, and their hands are never above the Jell-O level. Because it's gonna the whole thing. All right, let's go to Nancy Pelosi this morning from Morning Joke, because the media is attacking. They've been instructed to attack by the Biden White House, and so the media is dutifully complying. It's what they do. They want their invitations to the White House Christmas party, and maybe over to the Veeps residence for various events. They can bring their children and things like that. It is a circle fest in a hot tub, and it is a merger of state and corporate power. That's the thing about what's going on in America today. Now let's let Nancy Pelosi lie, and the frauds at MSDNC, that's NBC fake news, fluff her as she goes, and then I'll explain where the lies are. Nancy Pelosi with Joke, a.k.a. Morning Joke, a.k.a. Joke Scarborough, and his semi-inflatable flotation device of a third wife sitting next to him. They got Willie Geist. Willie Geist, I like to call him Willie Geist because it kind of looks like it's spelled geese, but the back and forth went kind of like this.
Speaker McCarthy made the argument the other day that, well, Nancy Pelosi set this precedent. She waited a long time to have a vote on the first impeachment of Donald Trump. You did hold a vote, we should add, but he said you made the rules and he's just following them now by not holding this initial vote for an impeachment inquiry. What do you say to that?
I say that that's hogwash. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I don't know why the press keeps repeating it.
Now, Willie Geist is a lion Sacagawea, and Nancy Pelosi is a lion Sacagawea. They're both lion Sacagawea. And the lie is, well, it's the Weasley language, and, well, you did hold a vote. Willie Geist helpfully says, well, Kevin McCarthy says you didn't hold a vote. You did hold a vote, says Willie Geist. And then Stretch, I think Mark Levin calls her Stretch, right? And because of her face. And she said, well, yeah, it's hogwash. Hogwash, she used the word hogwash. And then went on from there to misrepresent the truth, and nobody's going to straighten it out.
And now they're trying to say, well, we're not going to have a vote because Nancy didn't have a vote the first day. No, we had a vote. We were in preparation for a vote. The first day. But again, this is a big deal, an impeachment. You have to do it with care and not on impulse.
Yeah, like you guys did twice over the fake dossier, which was Hillary Clinton's opposition research. And then, of course, over the phone call to Ukraine, asking about the millions of dollars going from Ukraine into the Biden family coffers and the firing of the prosecutor that was looking into corruption at Burisma while Burisma was paying millions of dollars to the Biden family. Bribery is a specifically impeachable offense. And the news media is just really a gang of I don't want to insult cheap street prostitutes because, you know, a certain... And she says, because we didn't have a vote for the first day. And she slips in the word, the turn of phrase, the first day. And then she said, we did have a vote. Now, there's one more of her, right? Now that's Nancy Pelosi on Morning Joke this morning. Now let's get to this because the fake media, the Democrat fluffer media, they're spinning this, of course, for the Democrats and for Pelosi and for Biden and for Hunter Biden and for Joe Biden and for all of them. Let me go to the radical left-wing extremists at Axios, who are handmaidens for the Democrat Party. September 12th of 2023, the day before yesterday, McCarthy blames Pelosi for his impeachment flip-flop. Wait, it's a flip-flop? Well, yeah, because he said to Breitbart at some point a while back that he'd hold an impeachment vote with the full House. Now, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy defended himself on Tuesday for changing course on whether an impeachment inquiry requires a full House vote, saying his predecessor, Nancy Pelosi, changed the precedent. And now the news media jumps in to say, oh, no, you didn't. And then she says, well, they're accusing us of not holding a vote the first day, right? And then they say McCarthy unilaterally launched a probe into President Biden. Well, he's the Speaker of the House, you know. On Tuesday, less than 2 weeks after Breitbart News quoted him as saying that he would take a full House vote to kick off any impeachment inquiry, all right? And then Kevin McCarthy told reporters day before yesterday, she changed that, McCarthy said. This is how you do it. So I warned her not to do it in that way in the process. And that's when and that's what she did. So that's what we do. That usual eloquence, I guess. But there it is. So I warned her not to do it. And I talked about this yesterday because this is another big lie that the lying sacks of Jewea and the news media are telling us. And this goes with, remember Mitch McConnell warning Harry Reid when he was head of the Senate? It's because Harry Reid decided to confirm Barack Obama's radical leftist, anti-constitutional federal judges that they didn't need 60 votes in the Senate. They only needed 50 votes. So Harry Reid unilaterally changed the rules in the Senate to get Barack Obama's radical judges confirmed lickety-split. And Mitch McConnell warned him at the time. He said, listen, this is going to come back to bite you maybe sooner than you think. You don't want to do this. You don't want to change these rules in the Senate. And Harry Reid said, I'm going to do what I want. I'm in charge. I have power. I'm going to beat you over the head with it. All power comes from the barrel of a gun. I'm paraphrasing some of that. But
say to my friends on the other side of the aisle, you'll regret this, and you may regret it a lot sooner than you think.
And then guess what happened? Mitch McConnell used the rule changes that Harry Reid put in place to confirm President Trump's 3 Supreme Court nominees, because it was federal judges, and Harry Reid changed the rules, and Mitch McConnell accepted the rule change, and then the Democrats and the media, but I repeat myself, became apoplectic once again, and they had to get rubber sheets like James Carville, who was a little nervous. So Kevin McCarthy pointed out she changed that, and it's the same situation all over again. And they just lie, and the media lies with them. Said, see, she changed that. This is how you do it. So I warned her not to do it that way in the process. And that's what she did, so that's what we do. Now, back in September of 2019, McCarthy tweeted that Pelosi couldn't launch an impeachment probe into then President Trump without a full House vote. And now the media is trying to use that against him, right? But here's the thing. The House Democrats under Nancy Pelosi did conduct an impeachment probe for 5 weeks before having a vote on a resolution in October of 2019 setting out the rules for the public phase of an inquiry. So here's Nancy Pelosi. Well, the first day. It was 5 weeks, and you think these clowns at MSNBC are going to correct her and say, well, wait a minute. And by the way, they font her Speaker Emerita. I predicted when she left and when she lost the gavel that they would start calling her the Speaker Emeritus, and they certainly have. They started doing it immediately. They're doing it this morning on MSNBC. She's Speaker Emerita. Genderless, no genitalia at all. It's a and so Kevin McCarthy points out, well, wait a minute. You held impeachment inquiry for 5 weeks, and then you held a vote. And those are the rules you laid down, Nancy Pelosi. And so we're going to follow your lead, just like Mitch McConnell followed Harry the Body Reid's lead on confirming federal judges. And then they pound the table and stamp their little spiked heels and their $900 shoes. And they say, well, you can't do that just because we did it. And then they use weaselly language like Nancy Pelosi just did. We didn't have a vote the first day. It was 5 weeks. So when we get to 5 weeks, then we can revisit whether a vote of the full House is needed. So the inquiry, again, went on for 5 weeks before Nancy Pelosi had a vote in October of 2019, setting down the rules. And Trump was impeached in December, right? So it's October of 2019, and then late in October they had the vote, and then in December he was impeached. So they changed the rules. They laid down the rules to be more favorable to themselves and unfavorable to the Republicans. And then when the tables are turned, they come out and they act as the snakes and the weasels that they are. Pelosi announced a second impeachment inquiry into Trump 2 days after the January 6, 2021, the dust-up at the Capitol where Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed while unarmed for the alleged crime of trespassing. Again, without a House vote at the start of the inquiry. And she's just a lying Sacagawea. And then these fluffers like Willie Geist in the news media don't correct her. And, again, they don't follow the news. They're ignorant and they're dishonest, most importantly. I don't know that they're this intellectually lazy or journalistically lazy. I do know that they are this journalistically dishonest. I shared with you the great Albert Einstein quote yesterday that, your right to tell the truth comes with a duty to not withhold anything that you've learned to be the truth. And if we only had journalists that do that, I do that. I did that when I was working in the mainstream news media. And then I had to leave because it was getting harder and harder to do that. So a second impeachment inquiry into Trump 2 days after January 6th, again without a House vote. But does Willie Geist point that out? No. Does Mo Yarborough point that out? Does the semi-inflatable flotation device of a third wife, Mika Brzezinski, point that out? And of course, neither Trump's Senate trials ended with a conviction because it was all based on lies on Hillary Clinton's opposition research and the fake Russian collusion. And then the fact that the President of the United States called an official in Ukraine to ask about what we now know was widespread Biden family corruption in Ukraine, where millions of dollars flowed from Ukraine and Burisma to the Biden family coffers. And, what's the big deal, right? McCarthy did not explain why he had so recently said that an inquiry into Biden would require a full vote. Well, that's what he said then, but he said, well, wait a minute. We've got the Nancy Pelosi precedent. In fact, two of them, both inquiries, started and were underway, at least the first one for at least 5 weeks without a vote. And now the Democrats want to apply a different standard to Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans while fluffing Nancy Pelosi as she lies and deceives and misleads. And all of that is fine because that's our Democrat media, right? There it is. Yeah, but now, hey, you flip-flop. And right in front of them, Nancy Pelosi is pulling this stuff. Boy, it's good to be a Democrat, isn't it? Were it not for double standards, liberals would have no standards at all. And they prove it every single day. And that includes our media, of course. Boy, oh boy. All right, let's take a quick call. Let's go to Tony calling from Tampa, Florida. Tony, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
My man, Chris, what's going down? Listen, the Biden crime family will get away with all of the debauchery that they have committed for the last 50 years because of one reason. They've got that magic D in front of their name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I tell you, and Tony, yesterday they put out a memo to the media telling the media what to do, and the media is doing it. We're watching it in real time. Again, the most corrupt institution in the United States of America is the news media, Tony, and it's not, believe it or not, it's not the FBI, it's not the intelligence community, it's not even the Democrat Party. We expect this from politicians, but the genius of our system and the genius of the founders is that a free and fair press, they're free, but they're not fair. Free and fair press would hold feet to the fire of both parties equally. And that's where our republic breaks down right there. That represents the disaster that we're dealing with right now, that we're carving our way through right now. It's the news media, and it's an extraordinary thing. You believe they're going to get away with everything, right, Tony?
Absolutely, they are. They got, again, without being redundant, they've got that magic D in front of their name, and you've got an American public, American people who believe everything that comes out of their mouth. They make Pravda look like a day in the park.
Well, that is absolutely true, Tony. That's a fact. And it is the merger of state and corporate power. That's what we're witnessing. And it's the information oligarchs that are key to the big lie, as their boy Gurgle used to say. And where's Al Sharpton when you need him anyway? We need more Al Sharpton in this world, don't you think? He should be the Democrat nominee for president.
Did I hear you correctly say that perhaps he was influenced by Gurgle?
Ah, yes. You also got a story. Lauren Boebert was kicked out of a theater. Was there watching a play, a live play. And got a lot of complaints for making noise and shooting videos with her phone and got kicked out of the place. We'll share that story with you. On account of, And let's go back to that. I think I was remiss yesterday in not taking enough phone calls, wasn't I? And we had the mailbag yesterday, but I didn't take a lot of phone calls, and I apologize for that. They gave me too much stuff, and I only had 3 hours. Let's go to Patrick calling from Frederick, Maryland. Beautiful Frederick, Maryland. Patrick, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Mr. Plant. How are you today, sir?
Very well. What do you say?
I was telling the caller earlier, I actually agree with Mitt Romney. I believe that, not saying that Donald Trump, he was a good president, but I believe they should give opportunity to our younger generation. Like Ron DeSantis, I believe he's running. It's a couple more. But I just believe they should give the younger generation opportunities because they have more energy. They're more energetic. That's why I believe that.
Yeah, as a rule, certainly with Joe Biden, he's got a strange kind of energy. He's got enough energy to, trip over things and fall down on his face and fall down on stairs and things. Now, I've got to say, Patrick, that Donald Trump does not lack energy. He's no spring chicken. But that guy, he's up 19 hours a day, and he's running around, and he's running upstairs, and he's not falling down, and he holds press conferences that go on for an hour and a half until the press is exhausted and have no more questions, and Joe Biden can't take 2 questions. So, I think they're very different cases, don't you, in terms of physical and mental abilities and acuity. I think they're 2 very different cases.
Yes, I do believe it, but definitely Joe Biden is definitely off. He's saying things out of his head. Somebody definitely needs to do something about it. I'm pretty sure they're not, but he really needs to go. To be honest, I'm very. I don't like it. I don't like none of his. Of course, I don't like his politics, but I really actually feel sorry for him. To be honest.
Yeah. Well, that's very nice of you, and it's very Christian of you, and that means that you were raised well, and I appreciate that. I do. He does, and it is kind of the Christian thing. Joe, you need to go away. You need to stop this. This is not for you. President Trump not lacking energy. Different cases, physically and mentally, for sure.